Thank you guys so much for joining us today. My name's Hannah Wilson. I am the Senior Director of Partnerships and Engagement at the Shared Use Mobility Center. And we're really excited to talk about the new Shared Mobility Summit and the 2026 Call for Change Leaders that we put out, and really appreciate your interest. So today we're going to I'll just give you a quick rundown, kind of have a brief welcome. Please introduce yourself in the chat. We will do a quick introduction to the Shared Use Mobility Center in case you're not familiar with who we are. We'll talk about the new Shared Mobility Summit and give you guys a nice overview there before we go into really more details about the call for change leaders and what that includes, and make sure that we leave some room for you to hear from our 2025 new summit change leaders. We've got 4 folks here ready to share their experience, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. So as indicated in the chat, please put questions in the Q&A section of the webinar. And then in the meantime here too, as we're getting going, please introduce yourself in the chat. What's your name? Where are you calling from? We want to get the collaboration starting now, and we'll be sure to connect folks that are from the same area that have interest in the summit. So again, thanks so much for being here, and we'll get started here. So the Shared Use Mobility Center, if you're not familiar with us, we're an international public interest nonprofit organization. We are a small but mighty team of about 25, and we do research, consulting, convening. I'll share a little bit more about that in a minute. And we do work across the globe, but we have offices here in Chicago and in LA. We started a little over a decade ago here in Chicago and have expanded really since. Just a little bit more about us. Our mission is to connect and empower change leaders, advancing people-centered shared mobility systems, ultimately to fight climate change, advance equity, and strengthen community. And we do this with the vision of all people having access to joyful, dignified, equitable, safe, reliable, and affordable transportation options, even if they don't own a car. So this is sort of our North Star, our vision. And I'll talk a little bit more about our shared challenge that we're here, that we're, the reason why we host convenings as well in a minute. A little bit more about our work. So SUMC is accelerating change, and we do this through inspiring, equipping, and catalyzing. So we, have this kind of bucket of robust research. We have our Mobility Learning Center, if you're not familiar with that. It's a very robust platform, kind of clearinghouse of case studies and articles about all things shared mobility. We have our biweekly Mobility Hub newsletter that be sure to subscribe to if you're interested in kind of staying on the shared mobility news. We equip change leaders with kind of this community-led technical assistance and capacity approach. So we've worked with federal, state, and city levels on technical assistance, mobility innovation grants for the past decade or so. And then lastly, this new summit falls in this category of accelerating connections between change leaders. So as a nonprofit, that's one of our goals, to help connect change leaders on the ground doing work for these shared goals of climate equity, safety, and access. So things like our new summit, we have our Clean Mobility Equity Alliance in California, and our global network for popular transportation. So thinking about how we can engage and network folks whenever we can. Here are a few of our partners. So you can take a look, again, kind of across public, private, nonprofit, academia, foundations. We kind of span across many partners here. So before we kind of shift and talk about the new summit, we want to frame the why. Why do we convene as a sector, and what is our larger goal and the shared challenge that we're trying to solve? So, our shared challenge, as we see it, is that we've built and continue to build a transportation system that requires everyone to own a car to really fully participate in the economy. This is unsustainable, unjust, and harmful, and unaffordable. And so when we think about this problem, this is a systems problem. So how do we change systems? This is something SUMSI's been researching more in the last several years. And, how do we change systems at scale? And so what we know is that a systems problem requires a systems change approach. And in our research on systems thinking, we understand that no single lever can really achieve transformational change, right? It's not a single policy or principle or city that we can really use as a single guide. It's our collective action, and behind that collective action is people. People change systems when they're connected and when they're aggregated. So this is our belief, and this is what's kind of the basis of the new summit. So we believe we can shift systems at scale by connecting people and teams to accelerate the possibility of change. And so, we have had a summit in the past. You might be familiar with it. It was called the National Shared Mobility Summit. We've always been conveners. It's a part of what we've always done. And so since 2012, we started the National Shared Mobility Summit. It was, really one of the first of its kind event to make sense of this new landscape in the United States. There were just a few shared mobility modes out there. People needed to know each other. But as we thought about it over the last couple of years, we felt like we needed a new way to convene. We have different problems. We have different needs. People, cities partner in different ways now. There are real deep partnerships that are required for programs to flourish and to grow and to be a part of the mobility ecosystem and to see that change. So last year, we kind of went back to the drawing board to sort of reimagine what a new convening could look like from scratch. One that builds urgency, that develops those working relationships, that kind of networks the change leaders in a way that builds solidarity for our towns and cities, and kind of getting a little bit more local as well. So that's really kind of the basis of kind of just a quick background of how we got here. So we launched the new Shared Mobility Summit last year. We had our first event in September. Again, we have a few folks here from that event to share their experience with you rather. And it was great. We had such great energy, and I'm really excited for you to hear from them directly. But really at the core, the new summit is a curated gathering where change leaders from across sectors come together. They build trust. That trust is really important, challenge assumptions, and have some real safe space and time to develop bold ideas, to chart this new paradigm where people have access to safe, reliable, affordable transportation. So how the new summit is different. We have three kind of big things that we kind of rallied around when we thought about how we wanted to make this a different event for folks. So we flipped the script, as we call it. Instead of having traditional keynotes and sessions with panelists, we really center participants. So throughout the two days, you will have time to share your perspective in a lot of different arenas. We'll have kind of workshops that I'll talk a little bit more about in a minute. And when we do have kind of inspirational conversations with someone, a thought leader, at least half of the session is left for questions for the audience, for the change leaders that are there to ask and talk and have a dialogue. We really try and foster trust. So this is an intentional thing that we tried to do this year to build a safe space. This was through shared agreements, kind of opportunities for intentional reflection, and intentional sharing. So that's a big tenet and something that we thought about as we developed the event. We commit to equity. So these change teams, as you may have seen in the materials, are formed by local champions, by local people, not by SUMSI. And so they're developed by those who know your area best, and really encouraging people to not think about those that have the titles or are typically in the room, but who are the change leaders that maybe are someone that's really willing to be courageous and have the energy to transform their communities, and maybe aren't always in the rooms. We also this year have waived fees and offered travel stipends to anyone who needs it. I'll share a little bit more about that fundraising model in a few slides. But these are sort of our three kind of core components of the event. So a little bit more about the change team. So this is a new approach, right, to how we convene. It is a national convening, but we have these change teams to also have some local time. So our first new summit cohort included 10 change teams from Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Denver, Fresno, Greater Michigan, Greater Minnesota, Los Angeles, and Seattle. Each new summit includes 10 change teams. We're going to keep it at that 10. And they really are comprised of 10 or 8 to 12 rather cross-sector change leaders. And again, they're not defined by titles or where you work or your tenure. They're defined by the vision, the energy, and the courage to drive transformation. And then we also really encourage adjacent sectors like health, education, economic development to join you. You know, who are those people that are at the node of transportation and something else that really understand that transportation is a big part of their success in their sectors as well. Another big piece of the summit that's different is the format. So it is participant driven. So you'll have 2 preparatory virtual workshops to get to know one another and the rest of the attendees, a 2-day in-person gathering, and then a post-summit virtual workshop as well. So it extends beyond the 2 days virtually so that you guys can start that conversation ahead of time. And then the in-person gathering are 2 days filled with 4 facilitated workshops that really leverage kind of a flexible, semi-structured format for you. So we will provide a framework for you to think about the problem in your area, the future state that you're looking to achieve, and walk you through. You'll have a facilitator for every workshop, but really it's about your team's energy and expertise and the way that you want the 2 days to go. So it allows for that. And then there's always opportunity for sharing and learning with the other teams in a variety of formats. And then there's really a new fundraising scheme that I wanted to highlight that we've adopted this year. So this involves local foundation support, not something that we've tapped into as fundraising for events. But again, this year SUMC, or last year and this year, SUMC is committed to waiving those conference fees and offering travel stipends. And this does come from raising funds from local foundations in the change team regions. So that's part of the questionnaire. If you've taken a look, is that there's one question about if you are able or if you know and can connect with foundations or funding institutions in your area. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second here so we can hear from Corinne Kistner. She was one of our summit mentors this year, so she can provide her perspective on kind of how the summit went for her and what she, how she feels it kind of meets the moment today.
Thanks, Hannah, and hi, everyone. Nice to be here with you. And my remarks are not as serious as my face in that photo, but I wanted to just share a couple of perspectives. I've been to a number of convenings in my career, and this one is unique. And so I wanted to share a couple of perspectives on, what makes this a different kind of convening and how you'll know if this is the right convening for you. And I think as Hannah really underscored, the design and the intention and the purposefulness that goes into this convening really makes it feel very different than other convenings where you might attend in a more passive kind of way. This convening is really designed for you to take an active role and be a really present participant in the workshops themselves. And so you'll know this convening is right for you if you have seeds of change happening within your region, if there are different folks who are working either together or separately to really turn the tide and change the paradigm for mobility in your region. And you need some time and space away from the day-to-day and away from the regular routines to step back and really reflect as a group. What I saw this year at the convening when I attended as a mentor was that there were folks in the change teams who in their day to day were kind of swept up in the regular routines or the regular requirements of their roles, but had the space during the convening to think bigger and to zoom out a little bit, and to forge some new relationships. There were folks who had um, never met before in their own regions and were meeting as part of this convening. And so I think this is a really powerful opportunity if you and others in your region are ready to take advantage of the container that SumSea is building, because that's really what this conference is it's a container and it's a really thoughtfully curated space. But the outcomes and sort of the experience is really up to the participants. And so I think the teams that I saw that really had a very generative time during the convening really took that opportunity and didn't take it for granted and thought, this is our chance to really forge some connections and to set some new understanding about what we want to accomplish together as a team. So I'll turn it back to you, Hannah, but just leave with, this is a really powerful space. And even this model of inviting folks to indicate their interest, I think is something that sets this convening apart. And I really want to encourage all of you to take advantage of that opportunity and to see what your community could take away from engaging in an experience like this one.
Great. Thank you so much, Corinne. Really appreciate it. So that's a nice segue into kind of the overview of the call. So we can try and, maybe answer some of your questions that you have here. So just wanting to start with the timeline, which you may have seen in our materials. And so we've issued the call of for change leaders a couple weeks ago. We have our webinar today. The closing date comes up here December 5th, end of day. And then we will be reviewing those and sending out invitations to interested local champions. So if you indicate, and I'll get to the questionnaire in a minute, but if you've indicated that you want to be a local champion, we will follow up with an invitation for a second round questionnaire. So there's a local champion questionnaire that will close Friday, January 9th. We will work on selecting the local champions by mid-January. And notify you, and then work with you if you are a local champion to identify your change team and invite them by March or so. This will give us a nice amount of time to really build your team and start that engagement early, and then get to our virtual workshops that will start in the summer. We are still looking to have the event happen in September of 2026, tentatively from the 8th to the 10th. So this is just kind of the timeline. And again, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have at the end here. So just going through this a little bit more, there is this first step, the call for change leaders questionnaire. It's a very brief 6-question survey if you haven't seen it yet. Our goal is really just to get to know you and the home area that you think could benefit from the new summit. And then in that questionnaire, you can indicate if you're interested in just being a change leader. So if a change team is being developed in your area and you would want to just be aligned with that change team, or if you'd like to be the local champion, and my next slide will talk about that role a little bit more, or if you want to help with connecting the team to local philanthropies or other funders. So that's part of it for you to kind of indicate. And again, that'll give us a sense of how you want to be involved. And again, it is a very short survey. So we wanted to make sure there was kind of not a barrier to entry for you guys to indicate your interest. So a little more about the local champion. Every change team starts with local champions. So the local champion role is who will help identify the people in their region who are making change. So as I mentioned, they are sort of, the champions, the captains that will help develop that team. And so it's really about, your network and who you think should be on this team. You will help SumSea connect and invite them. So we'll still be the ones to invite them and let them know they've been nominated. And we will be the primary, communicator with them. That is not on you. But we do ask that you're sort of that trusted local voice throughout the process. And collaboration is really central to being a local champion. So for this for this year, we are requiring local champions to partner with another local champion. So if you're interested in that role, be thinking about who you might want to partner with. Again, trying to instill that collaboration and also expand the network so it's not just a single person. If you are interested in responding with more than one person, maybe a group of three, let us know. I think we don't want the entire team formed, right, through local champions, because we want that opportunity to kind of have dialogue and talk with you about it. But if there is a one more person that you want to champion with, let us know. And then, we just ask that you're comfortable with frequent interaction with SumC as we recruit the people from your cities and your regions. So again, we'll do that outreach, but if we have issues getting a hold of them or we're not hearing response, we may ask you to follow up. And then we also will ask for your support if you have relationships with funders to help raise those funds and enable people to go for free if they need it, and can continue to sustain the work after the event as well, as something we're working on now with the 2025 teams. So then getting to step 2 here, this is the invitation to interested local champions. So again, if you indicated that you were interested in being a local champion in the first questionnaire, we will invite you to fill out a slightly longer application, still relatively short, to keep it simple to fill out. It again requires you to partner with another local champion. And here's where we start to really ask you to identify the outcome you're hoping to achieve by attending the summit. And then potential change leaders. So this is not going to be your final list, but getting you started and helping us understand who you're thinking of inviting to your change team. I also just want to pause for a moment on kind of the level of specificity. We are not looking for you to come with a project that you want to kind of hash out in detail. This isn't, it isn't really a project planning opportunity. It's, as Corinne mentioned, it's time for you to really dig into some larger outcomes, some kind of systems level issues. Maybe you have an identity issue with your city, or you want to focus on how people with disabilities move better in your city. So it's kind of at that level, the outcome level, where you really need that time to talk about this in your cities and your regions, so that you can leave with a shared vision. So that's kind of the level that we're looking at. So after this, I've got some folks on the line, as I mentioned, to share their testimonials. So they are really the ones that can tell you how things went, make sure that we're being honest about the event. And so I'm going to stop sharing now and see if we've got 2 more change leaders that are, oh, you know what? I've got a slide for you guys. I forgot. Let me put that back up real quick. Sorry about this. I just want to have people be able to see you all. Okay, so we've got Connor and Nedra on the line here. Connor or Nedra, do you want to start? Go ahead, Connor.
I can go ahead and just kind of speak to the experience there. So, hi everyone. I'm Connor Petz. I'm with the Office of Mobility Innovation with the City of Detroit. I was part of the Greater Michigan Change Team, and honestly, the experience at the new Shared Mobility Summit gave a really amazing opportunity for leaders across the board to convene and talk about issues and challenges that we are facing with mobility and transportation, and how to really group up and plan and organize. I would say that is probably one of the best things about the opportunity that was presented by SumC, as well as bringing in some additional experts to speak on the matter. So I'll pause there, Hannah, and see maybe if you have any specific questions that you want to pose about our experience with SumC. But that is my experience in a nutshell. It
Yeah.
was very valuable for our time being there.
Thank you so much, Connor. We're going to go into Q&A right after all four of you are able to provide your testimonials. So we'll see if anyone has any questions on your to follow up. But thank you so much. Really, really appreciate your time and your sharing your thoughts there. We'll get back to you in a minute with Q&A. Nedra, are you still with us? And do you want to share your perspective? Oh, you know what? Sarah just hopped on. I'm going to let Sarah go ahead. I think Nedra may be caught up. So go ahead, Sarah. Sarah Fiorito is from the city of Evanston, and she was with our Chicago Change team. So we appreciate her jumping on, maybe on the go, and sharing her perspective.
Hey everyone, thank you so much, Hannah, and the SumC team for hosting. I just want to say about the summit that something that I really, really loved and appreciated was, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. That's something that I really loved and appreciated coming from the city of Evanston perspective, and getting to work with certain agencies that were in our team. Often, but not all the time, was just being able to have much bigger picture conversations about kind of the overarching issues that guide the work that we do on a daily basis, and also that inspires, I know, myself and a lot of us to actually be committed and involved in this work. So yeah, just definitely appreciated the time to kind of zoom out and also just hear people's perspectives on just really deep kind of foundational issues that guide our work. So yeah, definitely recommend.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good lunch.
Thank you.
Okay. And let's see, maybe if Nedra, are you there? Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here. Thanks, MC staff, for the invitation. And for those who are interested in attending SumC, the new summit, I think it's a great idea. I was pleasantly surprised. I've attended other transportation conferences. And I mean, generally, I enjoy seeing people that I know. And this was a time to see people that I know and also have deeper discussion, folks who are in different locations, to get updates. It was a work session, but I appreciate coming to a conference and not just listening, but also contributing and hearing and giving feedback and just really being part of what is taking place, because there's so much knowledge that is in the room, and in addition to what is, I guess, on a platform. And so to be able to like wrestle with the item at hand, I think was probably the most powerful. And then also to touch, see people, physical contact in person, with people I have not seen in a long time was really warming. And then to meet new professionals, or new to me, folks who are in the work, doing the work, hearing how they bring whatever they're doing to life, be it policy, be it working with community members, or designing new programs, and how they conceptualize shared mobility, period. There's so many ways to I guess, humanize mobility and make it more than just data points, but really looking at people's lives. And that is what's impactful. And as far as working with a team of people from your city, on, I guess, beyond what you do in every day at work or in your practice or in your projects, it was also fun to think of something new. So if you want a challenge, if you're interested in if you're curious and you're interested in opportunities to learn more, I would say go to the new summit for change leaders. You won't be disappointed.
Thank you so much, Nedra. Really appreciate it. And The Atlanta team was interesting. They were the only group that didn't have their local champions actually attend. So we worked with ARC as our local champion there, and they actually chose to send other folks instead of themselves. So it was a little bit of a different dynamic. I think it may have been a fun. I think that the team that came was kind of wondering how they all got nominated and what they do. I think that that's something that is an option if you're considering being a local champion, but you want to send other people and you're really interested in more kind of designing the team. We can definitely make that work. So I know Atlanta had that as the guinea pig to manage that. So that was fun.
It was.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know so Natalie is planning to jump back on. She had a meeting and was going to pop on at 12:30. So we'll give her a little bit of time to jump back on and share her perspective. But and I just wanted to also mention, I loved that everyone is looking forward in this picture. It was not planned, but I just think it's a fun little coincidence that everyone is looking forward and kind of thinking forwardly. So we just had a couple other kind of testimonials here. This one being about the opportunity to take a step back and build trust. So they really liked the Chatham House rules. That's something that we took really seriously, which is, that you're not allowed to kind of attribute anything that's said to anyone. You can talk about ideas, but if someone is courageous enough to speak up and speak their mind, that stays in the room. So that was something that we adopted. And this testimonial is really about kind of being surprised at sort of the shared common goals, but also the varied perspectives that each change leader brought in their team. So it really kind of opened their mind to bigger and better kind of solutions. So just wanted to highlight a couple of those. And then I know Christian just dropped in the chat the recap video. And so feel free to watch that. And then now we have Natalie back, which is perfect timing. So Natalie, I'm just going to pop back to you. We just had the rest of the folks share their perspectives. So Natalie is from Bedrock, Detroit, and was part of the Michigan Change team. If you don't mind jumping in, Natalie, and just sharing, one or two things that really stuck out to you at the summit.
Thanks, Hannah. Yes, hi everyone. I'm Natalie Bond with Bedrock in Detroit. I do land development. So the moments that felt most impactful for me at the 2025 Shared Use Mobility Summit, I think, were the time spent in individual breakout rooms. So we had a really multifaceted group of people from Michigan who work in nonprofit, governmental, or private sectors, like myself. And we were given an opportunity and sort of a safe space to sift through the realities of mobility in Michigan. So I feel like this space and time really allowed us to identify and evaluate the challenges we're seeing in our communities. And it's not often that we get this time and opportunity, because typically when we're in a meeting, we're only talking about the topic at hand, and we don't have a lot of time for these big visionary conversations. And the Shared Use Mobility team did a really great job of fostering a culture of openness and honesty and asking the right questions. And I really feel like talking to other leaders within the same ecosystem allows states to make sure they're working towards the same goals in a united way without duplication of efforts. So in our time, I think that the Detroit and Michigan team discovered common themes, as well as gaps and challenges that we should have a closer focus on. So overall, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalie. And I'll just point out that you'll see in the questionnaire, we ask you to define your home area, and that's kind of purposeful to talk so that we don't prescribe the boundary that you want to come to the conference with. So For example, for the Michigan team, it was kind of a greater Detroit and Michigan team. There were some state folks, there were some city folks, also someone from Grand Rapids, and that was, the decision that they wanted to kind of have more of that state level conversation. Minnesota did a similar approach and had people from the Twin Cities and a surrounding area as well. So it really is up to you. The rest were more city focused, but it is up to you as a local champion rather, to kind of identify where you think the boundary needs to live. So that's a little bit flexible for you and how you want to manage that. Okay. I think that we're at Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing and ask that if Connor, Nedra, Corinne, Colin, Abby, and Christian, if you have any, if you can come back on, or you can just chime in for any answers on the Q&A. And I'm going to pull up the Q&A. Colin, do you have that?
Sure. Yeah. And so I've answered a couple of questions. So those should stay in the answered section. But those were about the how the support works, and what kind of support SUMSI offers over the course of the summit process, in identifying participants, kind of developing the team, and then keeping it going after the summit. And then there was also a question about the costs of participating and attending. So that's something that depends partially on where people are coming from. So I'm just talking about the actual cost of attendance here. So we estimate about $1,500 per participant for travel and lodging, assuming they're coming from outside the Chicago area. And then the registration cost is $1,000. However, we work with everybody. We want to make sure that anybody who is part of a change team and has been identified can come no matter what. So there will be no out-of-pocket cost to any participant who who needs support. So to the degree that people have funds that they can access through their work or through their agencies, we appreciate that support, but we're not going to turn anybody away because they don't have the cash to attend the summit. And so that's part of our equity commitment here, is that we want to make it possible for anybody, no matter their size of organization, no matter their personal circumstances, that anybody can attend this. We have a question from Eric Rogers, and Hannah, maybe you want to talk about this. What is the typical or ideal profile of who goes on the team, e.g. nonprofit, government, academic, corporate, early, mid-career, et cetera?
Yeah. So the only recommendation that we will share from SUMSI's perspective is that you have a diverse team in terms of where they work, in terms of the hat that they wear, and their perspective that you think they'll bring. So last year, for example, when our local champions would come to us with an initial list, again, the local champions know their cities best, but we also would encourage, hey, you're a little light maybe on the public sector. Do you think someone needs to be there from that? Or, you might want to consider having a community-based organization voice there. So we will encourage you and kind of help nudge you and provide some ideas if we know folks there. But really it is about who you think the people are. And to answer the kind of early career, mid-career, C-suite level, being a change leader to us, and what we encourage local champions, is to really think of the person and not their title or their tenure. So we had some early career, mid-career, and C-suite level folks at the summit last year. And it was really us asking the local champions to think that way. And then when you come as an attendee as well, we ask you to kind of put that at the door as well. So, you're coming as your person, as your thought leader, so that you can, free yourself of sort of that mindset a little bit. I hope that helps. I don't know if there's anything else that anyone wants to jump in. Go ahead, Corinne.
Yeah, I was just going to add to, some of the really exciting conversations that I saw happening were in teams where the individual people sort of recognized, here's what I can bring to this problem, or here's the strength that I have, or here's the positional power or relationship or connection that I have based on my job or the hat that I'm wearing or where I'm sitting in this kind of coalition of people. And here's what you can bring in your seat. And how can we leverage each other and how can we complement the work that we're doing? And so, to Hannah's point about the kind of diversity of roles and perspectives, that was really exciting and interesting to see because it was those cross-sector relationships where different people had different ways of plugging into the same problem. And the real power of this convening is in meeting people who have different approaches to a problem and figuring out how can we together achieve more than we were each achieving at this separately.
Yeah. Yeah. I was really, I always loved the people that are not typically in the room that spoke that, that their perspectives. I think it was just really valuable and we want to kind of lean into that in terms of other sectors and things like that as well. Um, Colin, I saw you responded. You want to?
Yeah, well, I was going to say there was a question about the objectives of the change teams and, sort of how broad or specific that has to be. And that's something that we don't want to dictate, but we do. But I think part of that question is whether people who aren't directly involved, directly working on transportation, um, should be part of the discussion. And that's something we actually really encourage is we want to have people at the table who maybe are not, in the kind of Department of Transportation conversations locally, but who are working on things that are adjacent to or dependent on or inform the transportation picture, whether that's housing, whether that's people with disabilities, whatever that is, the Chamber of Commerce, and so much depends on and informs the transportation picture regionally. We want to make that as broad of a conversation as we can. So this is definitely not something that folks should be thinking about limiting to, the transportation people in their areas.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do really like that potential objective that Hank put in the chat. I want to make it easier for kids to bike or scoot to school. That's a great conversation, and and I completely agree that it requires a lot of different heads to think about it. So that's a really good example. And I know then Colin also wrote, he typed in an answer on from Michael. I live in the Chicago area, but my company's based in California. What are the considerations for which change team would be best for me to apply? And as Colin mentioned, it's depends on where you actually do most of your work and also where you feel you're most maybe, for lack of a better word right now, passionate or kind of networked in. Where do you feel like you want your work to go, and where do you feel your expertise lies? Is it, are you a Chicago advocate and really well integrated into the Chicago transportation advocacy scene, or do you do most of your work in California because of your company base there? So I think either could make sense. It's kind of what you think makes most sense for yourself. Okay. Any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A?
I don't see any more in either one.
Okay. All right. Well, I will put this back up here so you guys have let me just share our email. So if you have questions that come up, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's at SUMC Summit at sharedusemobilitycenter.org. And as mentioned, the first round questionnaires are due December 5th, and then we will be in touch from there. So thank you so much to all the change leaders from 2025 for sharing your perspective, and Corinne as our mentor this year. And then most of all, thanks to all of you for your interest in coming to the 2026 New Shared Mobility Summit. We're really excited to read your applications and hear more from you.
Late breaking question.
Oh, yeah.
Do you need to have another local champion already identified in the December 5th application? No, we will help with matchmaking. The December 5th application is really just for folks to raise their hand and say, I'm interested in working on this, and we can help you connect. And then
Yep.
if you are interested in being just part of a change team, but you don't want to be a local champion, you can go ahead and fill that application out too, just so we're starting to get an idea of the number, the level of interest from various cities.
Yep. Great. Thanks for flagging that. All right. Well, have a good rest of your day, everyone. And happy weekend when we get to it. Bye-bye.